Around this time last year, I said that, in my opinion, Stalker: Shadow of Chernobyl was the best Lovecraftian game. It takes its themes and tone and atmosphere and incorporates them into the gameplay in a way I've not really seen any other game do. However, being the best Lovecraftian game does not necessarily make it the most Lovecraftian game. Now, I haven't played all Lovecraft-inspired games, so I can't offer a definitive answer to that question, but I can suggest a good contender, the predecessor to the most influential horror game of the 2010s, and Frictional Games' first commercial release. Penumbra. Overture. Well, I mean, Scratches is pretty good too, but I covered that one recently and it's not seasonally relevant, and, you know, they're pretty equal. It's a whole thing, just don't ask. It's Penumbra Overture for now, okay? Penumbra time. I'm gonna split this video up into a few sections to show just how accurate and faithful Penumbra is to H.P. Lovecraft. And those sections are gonna be story, setting, characters, enemies, themes, and extra goody secrets. Now, that last one is mostly for the things I forget about while writing this episode, so I have, you know, all bases covered. So let's begin. You're playing as Philip, a man who, upon his mother's recent passing, received a letter from his supposedly dead father which instructed him to destroy some old and mysterious documents. And despite being told not to look any further into it, Philip looks further into it. We then travel to the almost entirely uninhabited and most assuredly inhospitable northern Greenland to find and enter an almost entirely uninhabited and most assuredly inhospitable mine. Once we're in the mine, we discover a dark truth. Shit's fucked. Something mysterious and weird has either driven everyone out, driven them mad, killed them, or worse. And the local fauna ain't doing too great either. And the history of the corruption is slowly explained to us through old notes left by people in various stages of the spooky happenings, with only one living survivor to tell the tale, but he's a little odd, and unreliable, and Scandinavian. We delve deeper and deeper into the mine, finding and solving some mysteries, finding and most certainly not solving other mysteries, and we learn that the malevolent force in the mine is likely an Inuit being known as the Turngate. And boy, they spooky. Until eventually we go deep enough where we find what we are looking for, a place full of strange humanoid beings hidden behind stairs and a strange door, and then we get knocked out. That may sound like I'm glossing over a lot of the story, but you'd be surprised how much of the game's story is just Philip solving puzzles in a mine. Now, that's not a bad thing, it's just very concise in terms of actual story content. Honestly, I understand if you think I'm cherry-picking details to fit the objective of the video, but that's why I have to do so many categories. I'm just getting started. Greenland! What a place. It ain't green, and most of the land ain't land, but boy oh boy is it a Lovecraftian paradise. And by paradise I mean frozen hellscape. But it's great, because it's far away from everything other than northern Canada, which itself is a frozen hellscape. Nobody knows anything about it. It's covered in ice. It's almost impossible to live in. It has some of the world's most esoteric native beliefs, and it was colonized by the Danes. So basically, imagine if space and the Wild West had a very cold child, that then got colonized by the Danes. Secretive, isolated, hostile, and Danish. The four elements of cosmic horror. And then of course we get trapped in a mine, so you know the phrase, out of the frying pan into the fire? Well, this is more along the lines of, out of the frying pan into the spooky ass mineshaft with a dark history and malevolent beings, also you're still in the fucking frying pan. I mentioned in my best Lovecraftian game video that isolation was a major factor of Lovecraft's work. Well, yeah. And I'm sure many of you know just how much old HPL loved a big ol' hole in the ground, especially ones full of archaic and otherworldly artifacts. Yeah. This is a pretty Lovecraftian setting, alright. Philip, an English physics teacher, is looking for his father, Howard, who is on a research team in Greenland, but he got in some shit. And while we're looking for Howard, Howard Phillips Lovecraft, motherfucker. While looking for Howard, Philip finds Red, a hermit with stories of eldritch happenings who is also Scandinavian, and suicidal, and a manual laborer. There's also a creepy Spidey lad, but we never see him. And then there's the enemies. In Penumbra Overture, there are 4 enemies. Spiders, worms, dogs, and the control scheme. And the first 3 are very traditionally Lovecraftian. Some of you will say that there's not a tentacle beast in sight, and yeah, there's not. Really, these enemies are a lot closer to traditional Lovecraftian enemies than most other games' attempts. The Dunwich Horror gives me the best example of what I'm talking about. The actual Dunwich Horror is a crazy space thing, but most of the story focuses on Wilbur Whatley, the Dunwich Horror's brother, who is not some inconceivable, nigh-invincible creature, he's just some fucking weird corrupted dude. He's got some otherworldly features and has some notable physical advantages, but he does get killed quite uneventfully, much like the enemies in Overture. Sure, the dogs can survive more direct pickaxe strikes than a regulation dog, but they do eventually die. And the same goes for the spiders. And the spiders and the worms have a similar thing to Wilbur Whatley. They grow faster and larger, and they's big strong weirdos. But they're still recognizable, comprehensible, and just kind of weird. They've just been corrupted by the Turngate. So yeah, good Lovecraftian boys. I covered a lot of this in the story section, so let's just quick fire these bad boys. Science. Philip is a physics teacher, his dad is some kind of super archaeologist, and you do some pure mad chemistry in-game. H.P. Lovecraft loved some science, even if he was shit at it. Curiosity. You don't delve into an abandoned cave in the least hospitable place on Earth without some curiosity, and Lovecraft thought curiosity and hubris were two of the spookiest things this side of Yog-Sothoth. Primal emotions. Red, the spider bloke, and Philip all exhibit traits of primal man. Curiosity, violence, fear, the things that distance us from the gods. And those are the main three. Let's move on. In terms of formatting, the game is actually very faithful to Lovecraft as well. Not only is the game extremely slow-paced, much like Lovecraft's work, it's all told in the past tense as well. Almost all of Lovecraft's stories, in fact I'm fairly certain all of the big ones, are written in past tense as well, in the form of letters or journals. And not only do you find letters and journals in the game to read from, but in the opening screen of the game, it's shown that the entire experience is actually Philip's retelling of the story. And there's even a few points in the game, and much more so in the sequel, Black Plague, where Philip says, I don't know, maybe I'm just fucking nuts. Which again, very Lovecraftian. And my god, don't get me started on whatever the hell Penumbra Requiem is. That's like the climax of a Lovecraft story. And one final thing I want to mention is the clunky gameplay, more specifically the clunky combat. Philip's not some action hero, he's just a guy with a pickaxe, or hammer, or broom, or dynamite, or explosive barrel, or rock. Actually, there's a few weapons, but he's not good with any of them. And believe me, that comes across in the combat. Jesus Christ, you just flail wildly until one of you dies. It really captures that kind of primal panic of a man who is so used to being in the scientific realm that as soon as he gets into the fisticuffs realm, he gets fucked. And that about covers it for Penumbra Overture. There's probably a few things I'm forgetting, and there's probably a few things you disagree with. If you have opinions on either of those things, let me know in the comments, because honestly, I just love discussing this kind of thing. And if you haven't seen it already, I can recommend watching my video, The Best Lovecraftian Game. I go a lot more in depth as to what I believe makes a game Lovecraftian, and I'm also awkward as shit in the video, and my editing is less than bearable, so... Oh god, I can't believe that's my most watched video, Jesus Christ. Enjoy it. I make some valid points. God, I hate myself. Thanks very much for watching, guys. Subscribe if you want to see more stuff like this, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.